Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where you get the inside access to the best minds in the game. Each week, Chris has the privilege of chatting with top instructors, legendary players, course architects, and industry insiders. If you're looking to improve your game, gain a new perspective, or just hear some incredible golf stories, you are indeed in the right place.
You see, Chris, let me tell you something, I haven't spoken to a press man in my life that is knowledgeable, seriously, as you are. Never.
You do such a great job. It kind of makes me feel good all of a sudden.
You do so much for the game. You're so kind to all of us that are out there in the game. You know, we need more people like you in the game of golf.
Thank you for pressing play. Now, grab your clubs, step up to the tee, and let's get started. This is Next on the Tee.
Hi, folks, and welcome into this week's very special edition of Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro. You know, I've had a lot of very special blessings come my way with doing this show. So many great guests over the years, many of which have gone on to become wonderful friends. At the top of that blessing list is the fact that I've had the opportunity to spend time with each of the last 12 years, oh, by the way, with a guy who I would include in the top 4 or 5 all-time in our game, and that is Mr. Gary Player. Mr. Player has won more tournaments worldwide than anybody ever, with Rory winning the Masters this year, and we've heard about him joining Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, Gene Sarazen, and Gary Player as the 6th person to ever achieve the career Grand Slam. But what if I told you there's only one player who has achieved the career Grand Slam on both the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour, and that is Gary Player. He's traveled more miles than anybody ever. He was named the Sportsman of the Century in South Africa. He's the only player to have won the Open Championship across 3 different decades, and longevity and his place in determining greatness is something that he and I get into during the course of our upcoming conversation. You'll hear him talk about his excitement for welcoming Rory into that inner circle of players to have achieved their career Grand Slam. We also talk about the greatness of Ben Hogan. We then get into the power of the mind and training it to be strong and prepared so that you can deal with major championship pressure. He reminds us also of the greatness of a player who was banned by the PGA Tour back in 1949 because that guy was just too good. This player won 11 times and finished in the top 30 of the 59 tournaments that he entered. You'll find out who that was. We'll also look ahead to this year's U.S. Open at Oakmont. I get his memories of playing in 2 U.S. Opens there. He finished tied for 6th back in 1962, and he held the 36-hole lead there in 1973. We then examine the evolution of his own golf swing and putting stroke, why he used to have a reverse C finish, and his putting stroke, just like everybody's back in the day, was all wrist. And now today, obviously, we don't break our wrists at all. We finish up by going back to his Masters victory in 1978. He famously tells the story about how he won the first Masters of his career in 1961. Back then, the only people rooting for him were his wife and his dog. Then in 78, the patrons gave him a standing ovation as he walked up the 18th fairway to the green. Look, I am just so grateful for his friendship and the times that we have spent together over the last 12 years. He's nearly 90 years of age. He'll turn that on November 1st, but you'd never know it from talking to him by the enthusiasm that he has for life. He was the very first guest ever on this show, which is something amazing to think about. I treasure him, his friendship, his family, his assistant, Debbie, for who they all are, for what they've meant to me in this show. So you know what, folks? Sit back, relax, and let Mr. Gary Player take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next half hour or so. Okay, but before we get into this week's show, I want to start off by giving a shout out to our good friends over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. TribLive.com is the leading news website for Western Pennsylvania with news around the clock. Pittsburgh pro sports coverage, a high school sports network, a podcast network, which you can find Next on the Tee on. So go out and bookmark TribLive.com or download the Trip Live app for free and stay up to date with all the news in Western Pennsylvania and this show. I also want to talk about our friends over at the Pittsburgh Brewing Company and Iron City Beer, a brand that I have loved my whole life and started drinking when I was 21 years old, of course. Whether you're a hacker or a scratcher, the secret to a successful day on the links is knowing when it's time to grab an iron. even if that means keeping it in the bag till the 19th hole. If it's been a while since you've reached for Pittsburgh staple beer, it's time to revisit Iron City. Thanks to their incredible new facility in Creighton, the best-tasting Iron City beer ever made is now available at a course near you. Iron City pairs well with any lie and sky and serves as a friendly reminder that there's always next round. Iron City beer, best enjoyed while enjoying life. And folks, this year, get ready to experience the game like you've never experienced it before at the Keep. It's the brand new Bill Bergen and Reese Jones co-designed course up at Macklemore. Nestled high atop Lookout Mountain, the Keep offers breathtaking vistas that are even more spectacular in person than they are in the pictures and the videos. With its challenging layout and awe-inspiring views, every round there is an unforgettable adventure. Whether you're taking on the signature holes or just soaking in the scenery, the Keep is where your best golf meets nature's finest backdrop. So grab your clubs and join us up at Macklemore this year. The Keep is open for preview play and it's waiting for you. But you gotta hurry now because spots and availability are filling up fast. So don't wait. Check out both courses, the Highlands and the Keep, for yourself online at themacklemore.com. And then do yourself and your buddies, or yourself and your family a solid by getting your spot reserved now. And experience distance and forgiveness all at once with the new QI35 driver from TaylorMade. QI35 is designed to give golfers more distance from more of the face while maintaining maximized forgiveness through high MOI designs. Whether you're looking for low spin and maximum workability or easy launch and plenty of adjustability, it's available in low spin, core, and max models. QI35 also has a full assortment of fairway woods and rescues to deliver distance and forgiveness throughout the top end of your bag. Check them all out online at TaylorMadeGolf.com. Mr. Player, it is such an honor to have you back on the show again this year for the 12th straight year. And I want to start out our time by looking back to the Masters and Rory's huge win there and him achieving the career Grand Slam. How happy were you to welcome Rory as only the sixth player to ever achieve that?
I was so happy. It was a very, very unusual Masters, to say the least. First of all, you could see how Rory really appreciated winning. I mean, he was broken down in tears, and Winston Churchill was my hero, and he was maybe the greatest leader that ever lived, but he had a good cry now and again, because it's really watery tears of love when you think about it, and feeling. And also what I loved about Rory, I never read these things, but he honored his mother and his father, which for me, so many children don't honor their mother and their fathers anymore. And to me, it's one of the commandments in the Bible. And then also, in spite of him shooting 1 over par on a perfectly calm day and winning, which I don't ever remember really happening in Augusta, but there's always a first time. But in spite of his score not being good, I tell you what, it was one of the most exciting Masters I've seen. And the reason being, because the public could associate it. He played extremely well or extremely badly. He had 4 double bogeys, as I understand it. He chipped into the creek. He was missing short putts, and then all of a sudden, he did a 7-iron with a high hook on 15, and number 7 out of the trees through a tiny gap onto a tiny green, and then at number 17, this high shot into the green 3 foot from the hole. So it was up and down, and this is how people play golf, Chris. So they loved it.
Indeed, he was one of us for a day.
Yeah, but my feelings did go out for Justin Rose, who on the final day played by far the best, and he missed a short putt on 17. But I felt sorry for him because, I've been second 3 times in the Masters, and only your wife and your dog remember that. and here's a man like Justin Rose. He loses for the 2nd time in a playoff, and he really played so well the last day. But he was victorious in his manners and the way he accepted defeat. And I think a lot of young pros and a lot of young boys playing golf, I hope they take note and to see how well he behaved. He goes to the prize giving, he goes to the press, and he shakes the hands and makes his opponent feel good. That to me is absolutely imperative.
Agreed. You know, Miss Player, one of the things that many golf fans might not be aware of regarding achieving the career Grand Slam is perhaps the reason Ben Hogan didn't win the career Grand Slam, maybe quite possibly the season Grand Slam back in 1953, was those tournaments were played the same week, the PGA and the Open. I think Mr. Hogan is too frequently left off the list of the greatest players ever because people don't look back at what he did and the time that he did it in. Remind everybody how great Ben Hogan was.
Well, first of all, I think Ben Hogan, I know he had the greatest string of any human being by a mile. And the thing is, you must remember that Ben Hogan won 9 major championships and went to war for the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, went to war for 5 years, then came back and had an accident for another 2.5 years. So if he'd had the life that Nicklaus or Palmer or Player or Tiger Woods or Tom Watson or Trevino, if he could have played golf interfered with, he would have gone down as the greatest player ever. But also, he knew more about the swing than anybody I've ever met in my life by a mile. By a mile. And I'll tell you what, if he could teach Jordan Spieth to play, Jordan Spieth would be one of the 3 best players in the world. He had so much superior knowledge to anybody else, but he wasn't keen to tell many people about it.
And Mr. Player, speaking of the career Grand Slam, you achieved it in order. Your first 4 major wins were each of the 4 majors, winning the Open Championship in 1959, the Masters in 61, the PGA in 62, and completing it at 29 years of age when you won the U.S. Open in 1965 at Belle Reve Country Club, which, looking back, might have been the most difficult one for you to win because not only did you have to defeat Cal Nagel in a playoff, you also had to deal with apartheid and your political stance, and that was kind of a dangerous time for you, wasn't it?
Well, I lost the PGA at Dayton, Ohio by 1 shot to Raymond Floyd, and they were demonstrating against South Africa, so they took it out on me. They threw telephone books in my back, ice in my eyes. They charged me on the greens and tore the greens up to pieces. They threw balls between my legs, ice in my eyes, and threw golf balls between my legs when I was putting. Very, very difficult period, but you know, adversity is one of the things of life one's got to face up to. And I was just telling a guy today, if I could have lived in America, I would have definitely won another 4 majors, no question about it. Having to travel back to South Africa, 40 hours, no jets, stopping in the most unforeseen places, you know, it would have made a big difference. But everybody's got an F. It doesn't matter who it is. And so you take and you get what you put into life, and the result that you win by, that's what stands. But I'll tell you what, I think, you know, I was the only one, Chris, to win the double Grand Slam, the Grand Slam on the regular tour and senior tour. And I think that the Grand Slam on the senior tour might have been tougher. And I say that with reason, because Nicklaus never did it. Palmer, Trevino, Watson, nobody else did it. So it cannot be, nobody's ever done it. So it's got to be tough, right?
Indeed.
But the reason I did it, because I was at 50, I was almost at fit. I was almost as fit at 50 as I was when I was 25, because of my diet and my exercise and my mind exercising, etc., sleeping well, laughing a lot. You know, all these things lead to longevity.
So let's talk about both of those things. And you speak of the mind, and one of the things that I think that set you, Mr. Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods apart from everybody else is your mental discipline and toughness. For those of us who will never know what it's like to try to win a major championship, dealing with the pressure and competing against the greatest players of all time like you did, winning 9 majors, finishing second 5 more times. No one did more training of the mind than you did. Talk about having a strong and prepared mind.
Well, first of all, I did a lot of reading, you know, particularly with heroes like Winston Churchill, who were fighting the war, you know, fighting the war. Can you imagine standing in Atlanta and the whole of the city is just flattened out by bombs? And he's still speaking. Churchill is still speaking with great enthusiasm and, inspiring the people. And thank goodness Roosevelt came into the war, because he was reluctant to do that. And we would not have, if Roosevelt never came into the war, we wouldn't be sitting here today. Germany would have won the war. There's no question. They'd already taken France and Czechoslovakia and all these places. Anyway, America has always come to the fore and come to the help, although many people don't appreciate it. I mean, I see what America does. To digress for a minute, they've given billions and billions of dollars to people that hate us. And I just gave $500,000 yesterday from my charity to a home for children, and today another 150,000, and we're raising millions for the youth of America, because to me, America is the greatest country in the world, and we've got to keep the youth going. But, the mind, having suffered like a junkyard dog when I was a kid, that's the greatest thing that could ever happen to me. Adversity is the greatest gift bestowed upon man or woman. We must never feel sorry for ourselves. And we got to remember to never give up, because everybody will have adversity sometime in their life. I'll give you the greatest example of adversity in the world ever. When Pearl Harbor took place, I mean, it was such a dreadful time in history. But if Pearl Harbor never happened, probably Germany would have won the war. Probably. Because America did not want to come into the war and refused blatantly not to come in. And then when Pearl Harbor happened, Roosevelt came into the war and we were able to win. So I can give you example after example where adversity is the greatest gift bestowed upon man or woman. And if you overcome it, you become a champion and you be successful in life. And so I worked on the mind. I did a lot of reading. I traveled more miles than any human being that's ever lived, and I saw all the terrible things in this world. And I learned from that. And I did a lot of meditating. I did a lot of prayer. I never prayed to win. I prayed for courage and to be able to be a man and take it. So I worked on my mind all the time, my mind. And that's what wins tournaments. That's why Nicklaus, that's why Tiger Woods, they won all these majors, because they had a mind that was different, completely different. No question about it. And so, it's something you can never explain to people, the importance of the mind. You can never explain it.
You mentioned longevity, and I think that's another thing that sets you and Mr. Nicklaus apart from the rest of the golfers. You guys don't get enough credit for your longevity in the game. Mr. Palmer was a great ambassador of our game. We owe him so much. But his dominance was very short, only about 6 years winning majors from 1958 to 1964. You and Mr. Nicklaus were winning majors for 20 and 25 years. Shouldn't longevity be one of the biggest parts of measuring a player's greatness?
Well, you're the only one who said that to me, and I'm emphatic about that. And, Arnold Palmer was my brother. And I just loved Arnold, and what Arnold did for the game, how do you ever measure it? But Arnold only won, as you said correctly, and I would never bring it up, but you did, and you're right. He only won majors for 6 years. Nicklaus and I won for 20 and 25 years. And, today, I mean, I'm 90, in my 90th year. I'm still breaking 70 sometimes. Yesterday, I broke my age by 20 shots. I've beaten my age 3,349 times in a row. So Trevito said, what's so good about that? You got to shoot 18 over par to beat your age. And he's right. But the thing is that through exercise, dieting, reading, laughing, ice cold baths, under eating, going to the gym, all these things, it's enabled me to outlast all of them. And I think that's what's your best car? A car that has the engine that lasts the longest. But nobody judges that when they talk. A man that I really and truly admired to the hilt was Bobby Jones. But they rate Bobby Jones above me. And here I've won the most tournaments in the world today, 18 major championships. I've won more national titles, US Open, British Open, than Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, and Jack Nicklaus together. And they rate Bobby Jones an amateur with a better record than mine. I mean, I say, well, I can't work it out. And Bobby Jones quit at 29. And I mean, honestly, it's such a pleasure to hear you talk about longevity, because that's, to me, Sam Snead was an incredible golfer. He was the greatest athlete that golf ever had, probably. And I mean, even today, Chris, I go to the gym this morning. I do hundreds of sit-ups. I run the treadmill at almost max. I push 300 pounds with my legs. I only eat 2 meals a day. I have an ice bath every day. I laugh every day. I read. I do so many things and I pray and I meditate and I do so many things to play golf at 100. And so I'm so pleased to hear you mention that, because people are reluctant to do that.
Speaking of other things people are reluctant to do, it's also to acknowledge another one of the great players in history, and that is Bobby Locke. Might be the greatest putter to ever live. Won 4 Opens. He played 59 tournaments on the PGA Tour, won 11 of them, one of them by 16 strokes, then got banned by the PGA Tour in 1959, according to Claude Harmon, because he was too good. Talk about Bobby Locke.
You see, you knowing things that people who judge golfers you don't know anything about. Now, Bobby Locke was the best putter the world ever saw, because he didn't putt on greens like Tiger Woods. Neither did we. I mean, Tiger Woods, who's a phenomenal golfer, but he played on snooker tables. Bobby Locke played on Bermuda grass. Spike marks, 100 spike marks on every green. There are no spike marks. Now you knock them down. I mean, it's a completely different game. You play with a ball now that goes 60 yards further. You got metal heads. I played yesterday. I never missed a fairway. In my 90th year, I hit the ball an average of 240 yards. I never missed one fairway. I couldn't do that in my prime with the old wooden heads and the heavy shafts and an old lousy golf ball, mowers that didn't cut the fairway short. Never played greens like this in my life. Spike marks on the green. Rake the bunkers with your feet. I mean, today there are no more par 5s. There's no such thing as a par 5. When they play golf today, it's a par 68. Nicklaus had to hit wood sometimes to par 5, but today it's always 7-iron, 8-iron, and they're going to have to cut the ball back at least 60 yards for professionals, because we've never had a big man play golf yet. And LeBron James and Michael Jordan and those kind of guys are coming, because golf is stay and play. Every other sport is away or play and away. They play 3 years in the NFL, you're doing okay. Now, golf, you can play forever and you can make an income forever. You can't do that in other sports. You just cannot do it. So, I don't know. It's a fascinating conversation you and I are having, and it doesn't come up very often.
Mr. Player, I want to look ahead to next month in the U.S. Open at Oakmont, which is in my hometown of Pittsburgh. You played well at Oakmont in the U.S. Open. You finished tied for 6th there in 1962. You held the 36-hole lead there in 1973. Talk about your memories of playing in the U.S. Open there at Oakmont.
When I arrived, I just loved that place. The ambience of the club, the members were so nice, and I just loved the golf course. And today I want to cry when I think of that beautiful golf course. You know, they've cut every tree down, every single tree down. Now, I design golf courses. And when you go to India, if you cut one tree down, you go to jail. And I'm so vehemently against cutting trees down. My brother was one of the world's leading conservationists. And a tree has such a vital role to play. It fights pollution. It keeps your soil erosion from taking place. People need wood to build. You need shade. You can go on and on and on and take shelter from trees. You can go on and on and on. Now, to go down and cut every tree down, to me, I'm surprised that the municipality allows that. Think about it. We are filling the earth up with buildings and shopping centers and houses and cutting trees down. It fights pollution. You know that Oakmont is right on a highway. The highway runs right through the golf course, so there's an immense amount of pollution there, and they cut all the trees down. Why do they do that? The best greenkeeper is down in Dallas, Texas. And I spoke to him. He says, all I do is I thin the tree out, I prune it up high, and the grass grows magnificently. So all this hogwash that grass doesn't grow with all these trees around is nonsense. Augusta survived all those years. All these famous golf courses survived for all those years. We've got to stop cutting all these trees down. I mean, it's a disease now. It just upsets me so much. But it's going to be a great course to play on still, I suppose. I don't know. I've never been back. It just upset me so much. You see, you've got a lot of city slickers on committees that don't really know much about conservation. And then the greenkeeper, it's easier for him to cut the trees down. So, there's all kinds of excuses. But anyway, that's what's transpired. And I'm sure they'll have a great open. I tell you what, the Scotty Scheffler is some golf course. There's no question he's the best player in the world at the moment. I think Rory has the most beautiful swing of anybody. So it's exciting. And I tell you what, I'm a big admirer of Scotty Scheffler too.
So would you favor Scotty going into that tournament? It's hard not to say based on what we just saw and how dominant he was this past weekend. Do you see a guy that you think that he's the odds-on favorite? Do you like Rory? Do you like Bryson? Who do you like going into it?
No, look, Scotty Scheffler, without a question, is the best player in the world today. I think Rory's the second best player. I think that it'll be between one of those two. But, a golf tournament is whoever really putts well that week. Usually it's the man who just putts well. We saw that with Tiger. Tiger was this phenomenal putter, and he hit some drives that were all over the place, and he still shoots 66. You see, if you putt well, you can play badly and score well. So usually, and you have 36 putts, remember? You're supposed to have 36 putts. 36 long shots, 36 putts. 2 putts per green. So when you putt well, you win. But it's very exciting to watch young guys play golf now. It's a different game. They go to the gym. They got a traveling gymnasium. I used to have to go down to the YMCA and wait my turn for an hour sometimes. No clean towels. Now they got a traveling gymnasium on the tour. They play for hundreds of millions of dollars. Most of them have got a jet. There are no more par fives in golf. They're starting to drive the par fours now. I don't know where we're going. Without being repetitive, we've got to cut the ball back for pro golfers at least 60 yards, not the amateurs. The amateurs are the heart of the game. They got to stay with what they got and enjoy it. But I do believe they should make ladies' tees. Every golf course I go to, the ladies' tees are too far back for the average lady. They've got to make more forward tees for a lady to enjoy themselves. My girlfriend is a 20 handicap. She comes to a par 4. Driver, 3-wood, 3-wood. She never has the pleasure on a par 4 of hitting a drive and a 7-iron to the par 4. So she doesn't know that part of golf. So I design golf courses, and I just learned a good lesson now to make the golf courses for ladies and elderly people a lot shorter, because you got to have the tees on a golf course according to your clubhead speed. They just started that in South Africa. As you joined the club, they took your clubhead speed and they had all different tees allocated for your clubhead speed, which I thought was a brilliant idea.
Agreed. Mr. Player, Mr. Nicklaus used to say of majors that they were some of the easiest tournaments to win because there are only a handful of guys, going back to the mind, only a handful of guys out there who thought they were capable of winning a major. Did you find that to be the case as well?
Yes, I think he was right. But you still always had some outsiders come and win a major throughout history because, it was 1 week, and you have a week where everything goes right. You got a great chance of winning. But, if you look at Nicklaus's record, it's incredible. Besides winning 18 majors, he was second, Chris, 19 times. I mean, Chris, that's not on. That's not on. It's so much better than Tiger's record. I mean, Tiger won 15 majors. Nicklaus was second 19 times. Tiger was second 7 times. Nicklaus was in the top 5, something like 55 times. Tiger 30 times. I mean, Nicklaus's record was phenomenal. But I can tell you this: if Tiger Woods, look, it's very easy when you're coming along. You want to get better. Now, Tiger Woods wins the U.S. Open by 15 shots. Inconceivable. It's so good you cannot work it out. The next week he's having a lesson from a guy who cannot break 80 at Augusta. And then the following week he brings another guy up who couldn't break 80 at Augusta at all, say in a tournament. And he's having lessons from them, and he never won a major for 11 years. If Tiger Woods never had a lesson, he would have smashed every record to smithereens. He would have won at least 24 majors, 24. But he made a mistake, and which we all make mistakes. We all trying to get better, and we misjudge certain things. So it's a case of if again. If I'd lived in America, I would have won at least another 4 majors. So, there's always an if. I can give you an if for everybody. Every single person that played golf, I can give you an if.
Mr. Player, there's something that drives me crazy because, again, I don't think the average golf fan anymore does what you do, which is read, or goes back and looks at history and studies history and understands the game back when you played and even before then versus what guys are playing now. Because I get into so many arguments with golf fans that say the golfers today are way better than the players from the 60s and the 70s and 80s. And I think that's rubbish. I think that the players that of your generation, the top 100 players, were every bit as good as the top 100 players now. I can get into the argument of the funnel for golf may be bigger now, more players getting involved in the game than may have gotten involved back in the day. But if you funnel it down to the top 100 players of your era versus this era, I would say they're every bit as good, if not better, in your era because of the equipment and the course conditions and that sort of thing. What are your thoughts about comparing the talent level of your era versus now?
No question. And I'm very open-minded about things. When I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But when I think of the equipment we played with, when I first went to St. Andrews, they said, here's your driver for the tour. And I mean, it was a wooden head with a heavy shaft and a chamois grip. And I looked it down and I said, how can I hit the ball straight with this? I had to improvise. Now you want a driver. They come out, they change the shaft in 5 seconds. They change the head by turning screws. They open the face, close the face, make it hit it lower, make it hit it higher, make it hit with a cut. I mean, golf for me at 90 now is an easy game. In my prime, it was a very, very tiresome, gruesome game. It was very tough because you had such junk equipment. We used to carry a ring in our pocket and put the ball through there every day. Out of a dozen, 2 balls never went through there. And they had spike marks on the green. And we raked the bunkers when I first started with my feet. And they didn't have jets to play, and they didn't have prize money. I was leading money winner in 1961. I played 29 tournaments, stroke average 69 with all that equipment and those lousy conditioned golf courses, and won 64,000. They got 64,000 for 30th place in Augusta this year. But that's okay. But there's I'm telling you, if you took our 10 best players, Trevino, Watson, Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, put myself in there, Raymond Floyd, there's no question, not even a debate, that we would have beaten the 10 best players today.
Speaking of the golf swing, when I look back at your golf swing versus what it was like early on to now, you used to finish in the reverse C, your putting stroke, and everybody's putting stroke back in the day. Very wristy, a lot of wrist hawk in the putting strokes. Now, when I look at your golf swing, spine is perpendicular to the ground on your follow through. Most putting strokes have zero wrist action in it at all. Talk about the evolution of your swing and everybody's swing for what it used to be like with the reverse C and the putting versus what you do now.
Well, it has a lot to do with the equipment too. I mean, when you, for example, when you putting now, you're putting on snooker tables, so you can keep your wrist nice and stiff. But when you're putting on extremely slow greens and you got a 40-footer, you don't reach the hole putting it with stiff wrists. You automatically had to use your wrists. And we're putting over 100 spike marks on every green. And the greens were, they were running it around about, 8. And I mean, today they run at 13. So it has a lot to do with the conditions. And you had a ball that was so bad, to keep it in the air, you had to sort of stay behind it. which made you have a reverse C. Now you get everything across onto your left side, and as you say, you stand up and you're perpendicular. But you understand more about golf than 90% of people. Really and truly, it's such a pleasure talking to you because you understand what's transpired out through time.
Lee Trevino recently said when he joined the tour, he didn't know how to hit a bunker shot. And he credits you with teaching him how to do it. Do you remember giving him lessons on how to hit a proper bunker shot?
Yes, that was up at Westchester, New York. And I do remember that. And what a pleasure, because he's been such a great man for golf and a tremendous golfer. I tell you what, Ben Hogan was the best striker of a ball I ever saw. But I put Trevino in the top 5, definitely, at striking a ball. He was, and a very unorthodox swing. But my goodness me, could that man hit a ball? If he could have putted like, say, Jack Nicklaus or somebody like that, there's no telling. He won 6 majors. Pretty damn impressive, isn't it?
Indeed it was. Just a couple more before I let you go, Mr. Player. And 2 of my favorite books are ones that you've written, Don't Choke and Gary Player's Black Book. I've said this to you before when we've had conversations, but Don't Choke, I feel like should be required reading for every junior player out there. Talk about that book and why it's so important for junior players to get their copy of it.
Well, they really should, because we talk more than just about golf. We talk about manners. We talk about winning like a man and losing like a man and being on time and dress properly and have good manners on the golf course and work hard and love your country. I listened to a lady the other day, Chris. I nearly had a heart attack. This lady was on television. She's from Dallas. I know her name, but I'm not going to tell it. She's on the news. She's a parliamentarian, as far as I know. And she was saying what a bad country America is. I just shook my head. And I said, now, isn't this sad that she can be talking to millions of people? I'd like to send her to Iran for 2 days. Let her go to Iran for 2 days. She'll scream her heart out to get back to America. I mean, to say America is not a good country, it's the greatest country that ever existed by a mile. You've helped all people. Now, I'm giving millions of dollars to the youth of America as a gift and as appreciation for what I got out of America. My charity is to help young people across the board. And honestly, when I look at this country and I see, and I've traveled more miles than any human being ever, when I see what America's done, you've given this country billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to a country that don't like you and want to beat you, and yet they're 1 out of every 7 children in America lives below the poverty line. We study this because we're giving millions of dollars back to the youth, and we're finding out the stats that are correct. And so, that's what I love. And I mean, look, I've got respect for everybody's political opinion. That's why I love Donald Trump. He doesn't want wars. He's doing everything to stay out of a war. He was out of the war in his first administration, and he wants to see the youth. He wants to see the youth do well. And my brother, when he was 17 years of age, Chris, from South Africa, when I was 10, he said, I'm going to war. My mother and father said, you're in high school, you can't go to war. He said, I'm going to fight for the American flag and our allies. And so when I see the American flag, I stand up there with great pride. It's a symbol of freedom. And when you've traveled like I have, freedom is on the wane. There are very few places in the world you have freedom anymore. And so when I see that flag, I'm so proud. And when I see people come to this country and pull down the American flag, put up a flag of their own kind, and then burn the flag and say, death to America, man alive, there's nothing that hurts me more than that. And I have respect for everybody's political opinion, but you cannot come to America and do that. And I love the way Donald Trump is getting rid of these people that are trying to do harm to America.
Mr. Player, one more before I let you go, and I want to end on a really happy memory and note with you. You've always said that your first Masters victory back in 1961, the only people rooting for you were your wife and your dog. But walking up the 18th fairway in 1978, you get a standing ovation from the patrons. Was that a moment in there where some satisfaction, some sort of happiness, some fulfillment kind of filled your heart because now the patrons there all adored you?
Well, you got to understand, in 1961 when I won, Arnold Palmer, my brother, was an icon. And he did so much for golf, and they pulled so hard for him, but they were still very kind to me. I got no beefs. And yes, the people of America have treated me phenomenally well. And so I'm just very, very happy and grateful for that.
Mr. Player, I can't thank you enough for being generous with your time with me again this year. It's always such a huge thrill for me to get to spend some time with you. I hope we get this privilege again before too long.
Yeah, and we got to ask the mothers, Chris, the mothers to feed their children properly. Keep obesity out of your home. Keep obesity out of your home and keep a body that's in good shape. Remember, the schools and the mothers have got to tell their children, your body is a holy temple, and keep it that way to help keep America number one.
Solid advice. Thank you for that, Mr. Player. Thank you for everything you've meant to our game and certainly what you mean to me. Just
Thank
one of
you.
my true heroes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Player.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That is the wonderful Mr. Gary Player. They just don't come better than that man. How great was Gary Player in our game and as a humanitarian? From all you heard through the course of this conversation and the 11 that preceded it, like I say, he's been a part of this show since episode number 1 for the last 12 years. So many great stories, so many insights from every year that he has been a part of this show, a part of the PGA Tour, and a part of the world of golf. I just cherish every moment that I get to spend with him. Every single time, it's a thrill for me what he presents to the audience. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you did, then we really captured something special. He is almost 90 years of age, and the enthusiasm he has for our game and for life in general is just not exceeded. It's second to none. And I would challenge anybody to say somebody that has gotten more out of life and who has cherished every moment of life, the bad times plus the great times. Mr. Player is just a treasure. I love him very much. I'm so grateful for everything that he has meant to me in this show. I hope we get the privilege of catching up with him again very soon. Go check him out online too, by the way, folks. At Gary Player is where you can follow him on social media. GaryPlayer.com is his website. Stay up to date with what he's doing and follow him. You're going to be so very glad that you did. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this very special edition of Next on the Tee. Of course, my sincere thanks to Mr. Gary Player for taking time out of his busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. Now, looking ahead to our next episode, joining me is going to be hockey legend and one of the best players ever on the celebrity tour out there. Dan Quinn is going to be back. My very good friend and the host of Grilling at the Green, Jeff Tracy, will join me. And one of the top players out on the European Legends Tour, Clark Dennis, will be back. So it's going to be an amazing show, folks. I hope you'll come back and be a part of it with us. As I say each and every week, my thanks to the folks over at the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review for hosting this show on their site. For coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports, please go to triblive.com. And you can find this show by then clicking on the Sports section tab. And you're going to see the most recent episode right there front and center on the homepage of the Sports section. Or you can click on Sports and then Podcast Networks. You'll then see the Next on the Tee logo. If you click on that, many of the most recent episodes from this season are going to be right there for you as well. You can also find this show over on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and GolfNewsNet.com. And as always, my sincere thanks to the wonderful folks over at Good Pods for making this show one of their recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But like I say on each and every episode, my sincere thanks go out to all of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.